episode of the Dugout, folks. I am Siddharth Vishwanathan. Alongside me is Shane Dias. India have begun their preparations for the one-off test against England by playing the warm-up game at Grace Road against Leicestershire. The situation is not that good, folks, when it comes to the Indian cricket team. 90 for 5. They were reduced to. Rohit Sharma made 25. Shubman Gill was also out for 21. But the rest of the batting dealt a very sorry picture. Shreyas Iyer, 11-ball duck. Hanuma Vihari fell cheaply. Virat Kohli is somehow hanging there, 9 of 32 balls. Currently, after the lunch break, rain has stopped play at Grace Road. So, at 90 for 5, India are in a slight pickle. And today, reports have also come that Ravichandran Ashwin has also joined the India squad at Leicester. Now, it will be interesting to see whether Ashwin gets a chance to bowl, bat, because remember, this is not a first class game. It's a warm-up game. 13 players will play from each side. And the interesting thing is, Shane, Jasprit Bumrah, Prasidh Krishna, Cheteshwar Pujara and Rishabh Pant will not play for India. Don't get started, they will play for Leicester.
Yeah, they'll be playing for Leicestershire. In case any of you haven't been watching the game, you'd know. In fact, if you started watching the game on the YouTube channel, it felt like you're watching an intra-squad game because you had Rohit and Shubman batting, you had Jasprit Bumrah bowling, and you had Rishabh Pant keeping wickets. So yeah, it definitely felt like an intra-squad game after a point.
Two birds with one stone. That's what the Indian cricket team have done. They have also playing an intra-squad game, but they are also playing a warm-up match, which brings me to this very point in this dugout which we have selected today. Is the Leicestershire match ideal preparation for India heading into the one-off test against England in Edgbaston? Firstly, let us, again, as I said at the start of the program, this is not a first-class game, which brings us to the moot point as to why is a warm-up game necessary for India when they are playing in the Sena countries? I will present data later on, but then the initial signs are, look, the quality of opposition has always been one of the prime factors. I had mentioned that in several other programs as well. Second, the conditions that India encounter at Grace Road will be 180 degrees of what they will encounter in Edgbaston. Remember, Leicester is just off London. The conditions there are different. Up in the Midlands, Birmingham, Edgbaston, it is going to be totally different.
And just FYI, before we proceed with this video, you, our dear family members, should know that him and I have some contrasting views on this. So, in case any of you are out there with your brickbats and pitchforks, worry not. There's plenty which we will analyze through data and even through basic, let's just say speculation or analysis, I think would be a better word. So, anyway, back to the topic on hand, India and warm-up games. I mean, even if you just look at a quick cursory glance at the numbers, they don't always paint a great picture. So okay, my basic point of contention is, the first point that I'm making, is that a warm-up game when it comes to India, especially when touring the Sena countries, is just a simple waste of time. For two simple reasons. Number one, a cursory glance, when they played in 2011, they had toured England, they had toured Australia. In South Africa 2013-14 they played, but unfortunately in that one game that entire warm-up was abandoned. Yeah.
And we know what were the results in that 2011 period cycle. 4-0 clean sweeps across both England and Australia. In fact, in England we didn't even win a single international game.
Correct.
Australia, we got knocked out in the Commonwealth Bank Tri-Series first round itself, despite some brilliance from Kohli. But again, played 2, drawn 2, played 2, drawn 2. And remember, they were playing teams like Northamptonshire, and also for Australia, Cricket Australia Invitational 11. The quality of opponents when it comes to the warm-up game has not been there. For example, let's just say if India had played New South Wales in that Australia tour, New South Wales were the defending Sheffield Shield champions at that time, then it would have made sense. The basic point of contention, Shane, that I have is, you do not play your key stars in the warm-up games. Leicestershire, apart from the 4 Indian players who are bona fide international stars, can you name any one Leicestershire player who has set the stage on fire? No. Do you even know the captain? You have to do a bit of background research for that. Sam Evans. But that is the whole point. Forget 2011. India, and the fact is they are not taking this game very seriously also, is the fact that this game against Leicestershire is not a first class encounter. Because 13 players, let's just treat it as a warm up. Okay. Even in the 2014 cycle, remember in the New Zealand tour in Whangarei, 2-day, 3-day warm ups just don't matter. You lost the series 1-0. England tour, remember they had played Leicestershire in that one warm up game. They did win that. They drew that, sorry, and they won 1 against a combined county 11. But what happened in that series 2014, you all know? We lost 1-3. Same with Australia, only 1 could be played against the CA Invitational 11. 2018 South Africa tour, in 2 subsequent tours in South Africa, we have not played warm-up games at all. England in 2018 played 1 combined county 11, we drew 1. Australia played 1, drawn 1, and things become even more muddy when I talk about warm-up games. You remember in 2018 Prithvi Shaw got injured, Sydney. So, and his participation in the whole tour got curtailed, and he was never the same after that. 2020 again, because of the COVID situation and everything and all that, England tour, when we played, there was just 1 game against the combined county thing, but we played 2 intra-squad games. That was because of the COVID situation and everything else. New Zealand tour, South Africa tour, no tour games played, even in Australia, CA Invitational 11. So, in this entire decade, only 1 game we have won, warm-ups as far as considered to Sena countries. What I am trying to point out is, in all the matches, okay, if I have to look at 2011 Australia, you played the likes of Glenn Maxwell, you played Tom Cooper, but they were not the international stars at that time. You don't play your full strength squads. You just take it as in 2020, in fact, the CA Invitation 11, India was just not taking it seriously. Why? Oh, it's a heat wave. They are not playing the best 11 anyways. Why should we even play? Which brings me to the point. Leicestershire, is it worth 4 days of acclimatization? My only silver lining in this is, okay, perhaps you will get to know what your playing 11 is. But honestly, COVID justified the fact that you do not need a warm-up game. Criticisms even before that, we just don't have that mental space. That's valid now. Previously, perhaps in 90s, if you had to look at it, 80s, 90s, 2000, every time there were about 7-8 matches, but they were against strong county units. Just have a cursory glance at County Division 1 and Division 2, who are at the top. Would you have played Durham? Would you have played Lancashire? That would have made much more sense. Or forget Lancashire. Why not Warwickshire in Edgbaston? But what was that argument about then, Shane? That the county season is currently on.
That's what I had said. And I said that, look, you're not going to be playing, and quite frankly, if you ask me, warm-up games, you're never, I think, post after a certain point. You've never had strong 11 simply because I don't think the boards want to play their full hand. Why would an ECB or an CA give you a warm-up against their best players, or potentially not just their best players internationally, but even domestically? So for me, and this is my perspective, you can tell me if you disagree or not, guys, is that warm-up games, you're treating it purely for acclimatization purposes. So of course, there is an argument then to be made that should you be playing intra-squad games only? If the entire purpose is acclimatization, and here, I mean, as we're seeing, in Leicestershire as well, Rohit is facing a Bumrah. So, and Shreyas Iyer got it to a Prasidh Krishna. So these are international level bowlers. Maybe that is of more help than actually playing a 4-day game in Leicestershire, where you say, even it's not similar conditions to Edgbaston. So even if you get acclimatized, you're acclimatized to whole different playing conditions than what you'd be facing in that one-off test.
Exactly. So again, the results don't back up. If you had played a mediocre 11 in your warm-up game, okay, you play a mediocre 11, what happens? 2011 you saw it in the Sena countries, barring Australia, where you have won 2 consecutive series. The warm-ups were not that great. But remember, in 2020 you got bundled out for 36 in Adelaide, even after the warm-up. Warm-ups simply, even in the World Test Championship, you played 2 intra-squad games. What happened? You lost in seeming conditions. You are at Durham, but the conditions were in Southampton. My only bone of contention is that, okay, maybe all the other counties were just not available, but at least you could have played in a different condition which was suitable for it. That is one thing. Then don't have a warm, like how they have done in South Africa. 2017 and 18, you didn't play a single warm-up game.
Yeah.
But you lost the series 2-1. The acclimatization situation is a catch-22 when it comes to Indian cricket. For two simple reasons. One, the results in the past decade in the Sena countries don't justify it. Australia is an exception, but look at South Africa, even in England, you've not yet won the series. You will not lose the series though. And remember, at Lord's, England's weaknesses in the batting were exposed.
Yeah.
Even at the Oval, they collapsed in 1 or 2 sessions. This England team might necessarily not lose.
And the thing is that previous England team which we're referring to were prone to a collapse per test match.
Yep.
At least one. And
Yes.
mind you, we're talking about this England test team. Look what happened to them against New Zealand.
Yep.
A quality seam bowling attack. And they also, they bundled New Zealand out cheaply. But then ended up actually getting bundled out cheaply themselves. So it didn't really matter.
Yep. Warm-ups again, there is another thing in this entire thing. When I look at the England warm-ups, and I did my research on that, the likes of Suresh Raina, the likes of Murli Vijay in the 2011 series, Abhinav Mukund, Gautam Gambhir, 2011 to 2018, they had all done well in the warm-ups. But when it comes to the test matches, whole different ball game altogether. The previous sides in the 90s and the 80s, because I can imagine there are multiple formats been played, time is not of the essence, schedule is cramped. They used to play 6 to 7 warm-up games. I can recollect in the 1986 tour of England, India played 6-7 warm-ups. After that, they played the test. And then there was even further warm-ups against strong county teams. Let me just reiterate the word strong. Here, there is just no strength. And my another bone of contention is, look at the county system currently. Leave aside Root, leave aside Bairstow, leave aside Ben Stokes. Root and Bairstow, where they are from? Yorkshire. Even if Yorkshire, even their second 11, if we think might be strong, why not send them? Leicestershire, who are at the wallowing somewhere in the middle to the bottom of the county championships. Why would you want to play them and waste your time? Rather than, they have done a partial thing, play an intra-squad as well as a warm-up game. That is my bone of contention. See, the results in 2011, everybody knows. India didn't win a single match in the Sena countries, test matches I'm saying. New Zealand also, they drew 1. England, 3-1. Australia, 2-1. South Africa tour, 2017, you just did not, you could have almost won both games in Cape Town, but that didn't happen. England tour, lost 1-4. Australia tour, you luckily won that. You won it 2-1. New Zealand tour again, you lost 2-0. England tour, still 2-1, but can happen. South Africa, again you lost 2-1. Australia, that epic series win 2-1. So 3 series, if I have to look at it, had results, but look at the time. 10 years. You play warm-ups, you don't play warm-ups. That is in a catch-22 situation. But look at England tour. You just had 1. But you still managed to do well. In Australia, you just had 1.
So, actually what going through all of this tells you more than anything else is that if you look at the one difference or the one similarity in this team and this team that went to Australia, is that for the most part, they had a very settled 11. Of course, the Australia tour, when it came down to it, the team got very badly unsettled because they were struck by both injuries and COVID positive problems. You were struck with both, and injuries a lot. Because you were drafting in your net bowlers.
Shami out, so you have to get in Siraj. Umesh out, you have to get in Saini. Bumrah out, Ashwin out, Vihari out. You are basically fielding
your first 11, your first choice bowlers were all gone. Your most experienced bowler was Mohammad Siraj in the final test because he had played 1 test prior. But other than that, even this England team, what I think for me is the big thing is that this was a team that was battle hardened. They had played a lot of test cricket in tough foreign conditions, because again, remember that South Africa tour, if they had not lost the first test in 2018, would have been a whole different story. Would have represented real progress, because the way they played afterwards, once they were acclimatized to the conditions, they were the better team by some distance in 2018. So what is actually what matters, and this is something that, by the way, brings us back to a point that we on this channel have discussed a lot, is build a team for the long term. rather than worrying about short-term results, then chopping, changing. Yeah, of course, Australia was an exception to the rule because you had players who seemed very motivated to win there. But look at how well they did in England prior to that. You held your own. You might not have won a series, but you more than held your own in conditions where no one had really succeeded that much prior.
Yep.
Especially considering you had 4-0 defeats there where your best batsman looked at sea.
Yes.
Then you have this generation come there and will be stubborn. We might not have, the big name pedigree, although to be fair, they had a lot of big name players. But they were stubborn and resilient in those conditions, and that's what matters. Is it a mentality thing then? Do you think that it could possibly be at least partially down to that? Because, I don't know, warm-up games, if you ask me...
Let me settle both sides of the debate, okay? Why do you go to England early and play warm-up games? Primarily to acclimatize to what? Swing and seam.
Correct.
Swing and seam bowling is a totally different dynamic when it comes to handling spin.
Yeah.
Even England, Australia, agreed. They come to Sri Lanka, they come to India, Bangladesh.
Their batsmen also look at seam.
None of the sides play their strong 11s. Yes. You don't, Australia will not play Mumbai champions Ranji.
Yeah, of course.
They won't play Karnataka. So, handling spin is a different dynamic altogether because even India's depth when it comes to spin is quite settled in the domestic arena. Look at the Ranji. If Shams Mulani can play in that rest of India team that goes against Australia, supposing they come here, he'll trouble them.
Look at someone like you're going at Shams Mulani. Look at someone they would also be could be someone like a Shahbaz Nadeem who's played international cricket. But will not get a look in because generally speaking, you're not playing more than one or two spinners.
Yep.
And those spinners are pretty settled. You're not really picking any winners for the sake of it.
I know. So see, playing spin has a different dynamic. 2012 England.
Look at how good Akshar looked in 2021 on a dust bowl.
Ahmedabad.
Exactly. On an absolute dust bowl of a track. He was bowling very basic orthodox, left arm orthodox.
Straight balls.
Look like a champion spinner though in those conditions.
Yep. So, playing spin is a different dynamic altogether. Playing swing and seam is a different dynamic altogether because look at England 2012. They had a warm-up game against one side in Palam. I remember in 2012 in that series. Alistair Cook, Kevin Peterson. But what happened? First test, they were blown away in Ahmedabad.
Exactly.
But they bounced back because, they had gotten acclimatized to conditions at Ahmedabad, not in Palam.
Exactly.
Dust bowls were prepared in Mumbai, it backfired. Kolkata because they had the bowlers to do it.
Exactly.
And both Swan and Panesar, if my mind takes me back to that, they did not bowl well in the warm-up.
But in the
test series, it was a mentality thing.
Yeah.
In COVID times also, and even now with the schedule being so cramped, a warm-up game, especially of the quality of Leicestershire, because you don't have many star players who are going to blow you out of the water. It frankly does not help. Again, 1997-98, India West Indies. India played a very, very strong Jamaica side prior to the first test. And who troubled them? Franklin Rose.
Yeah.
And who troubled India in that first test? 6 for 100, Franklin Rose. So, depending on a strong contingent, you need to play your strongest side in order to have a warm-up relevance.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think in today's day and age, no cricket board will let you warm up against that caliber of opponent. They just won't. They will, because everyone's looking to protect their own interests. Cricket as a sport is very, dare I say, populated or well populated only in certain sections of the world, and everyone is trying to one up the other. So I don't think if you're going to a West Indies today for a test match series, they're going to be playing anywhere close to their best bowlers so then it becomes your thing of saying, okay, they're not going to be playing their best players anyway. So rather than me look at it in terms of a form thing, let's look at it in terms of, okay, let's get that feeling back more than anything. It's not even acclimatized to the conditions, because the conditions, as we're saying, in this case as well as in other cases, have been very different. You note for a fact that they will prepare extreme conditions for the first 2 days. It's just how it goes. So no amount of preparations in warm-ups is going to get you ready for that. That's an application mentality thing. More than that is just getting into the rhythm of things.
Because why I'm saying this has happened, because I'll say one thing. In 2011, India played 2 warm-ups prior to the first test. But India didn't win. That raised the specter of, okay, we are playing a warm-up game. we probably might have gotten used to the conditions. But why did we still get beaten 0-4?
Yeah.
Both in England and Australia, you were troubled by seam, swing and pace.
Yeah.
Australia, it was not about seam and swing.
Yeah,
it was
more
about pace, bounce and pace. So that raises the question even now, 10 years later, if India, supposing, let's just play a negative devil's advocate, they lose Edgbaston.
Yeah.
Can you pin it down to the fact like, okay, you didn't have time to acclimatize? No. You didn't play the right opponents, you didn't play the full strength opponent at that point in time. And somewhere down the line, the boards need to just put the line down in the sand. They have to say, look, play us your strongest county or strongest Sheffield or strongest South African side when we tour there. In return, when you all come to India, we'll play your strongest team.
Yeah, but that seems very utopian. I'm being very honest with you.
It is utopian.
It is very utopian because no board is going to do it. They're not going to give you that chance of saying, okay, you get acclimatized to our best bowlers and then you can come and then beat us. Maybe that's what also makes part of the thing that, you note for a fact that these board 11s or this, less competitive county teams, they're not going to be presenting much of a challenge. So at the end of the day, it's down to you as a player to say, yeah, you know what, fine. I'm going to use this only to kind of, feel bad on ball.
Yep.
Or if I'm a bowler, just loosen my arms a little. Okay, I haven't bowled with the red cherry for a while. Let's see what it does. I'm going to ignore my stats. I don't care about scoring a 50, 100 or 150 because it matters for nothing.
So if Virat Kohli scores 100 in this match, will people celebrate?
People will celebrate, but people will, I'm sorry, I'm not looking for it, if I'm looking at it from a professional perspective, it doesn't matter if people celebrate or not. What will matter is, can he do it in that test match? If he does it in the test match, then that warm-up thing means something. Otherwise, you're scoring 150 against a second, third choice team. And then when it really comes down to it, what I always say, big game performances.
Big game performance.
And this is a big game. And honestly, all India needs is a draw.
Yep.
It's not a big this thing. I mean, if you're looking at the continuation of that series, all they need is a draw. Simple as.
Yes.
Get that draw. You've sealed your first ever,
14 years afterwards, you've just sealed your first series win in England.
Exactly.
14, 15 years. But again, the main point of contention that I will make in this is, so that if I have to just lay it out very clear, if this Leicestershire warm-up game has any relevance, which I frankly feel does not, it is just to ensure that maybe you can finalize your playing 11. And that everybody gets a chance to bowl or bat, because a 13 members.
Honestly, if you ask me, I don't even think they'll look to make it. I think this is because the fact is they've shuffled around the teams. So I think more than anything, they're just looking to give everyone a run out. Get used to the feeling of playing Test cricket, being in whites, facing that red cherry. Why is it that Pant is keeping for Leicestershire on the first day?
Yep.
Because that new cherry is going to be moving around like crazy. You want him to get acclimatized to that after months of playing essentially white ball cricket, where the ball is not going to move that much.
Yep.
And especially in T20I conditions, not a chance.
If suppose there is one small silver lining in this irrelevance of a thing, I would just say perhaps it gives Rohit and Virat some game time.
That's it. That's the only reason
That
this
is
happening.
But again, quality of opponents. I mean, if Yorkshire or even let's just say who are the current champions, even suppose Middlesex or even Warwickshire, if they had tested and even if Rohit and Virat had gotten 20, 30, 40 against that attack on a seaming condition, then I will take that any day, because you have played your strongest team. But Leicestershire in a different condition to what you're going to encounter in Edgbaston, it is probably detrimental in two ways. One, players might be drawn to a false sense of thinking, oh, we'll be confident, we are heading into Edgbaston. They'll say, oh, England are anyway facing the pressure. But no, perhaps in Edgbaston, and by the way, in Edgbaston, India don't have a good record there. They lost in 1996 despite Tendulkar scoring a century. They lost in 2018 by 31 runs. And they had also played a warm-up game, but in the seaming conditions of Edgbaston, they were just found out wanting.
Exactly.
So, in that sense, I will only reiterate that the warm-up game in Leicestershire gives a little bit of game time for Rohit, although Rohit got out for 25. Virat Kohli, on the other hand, is still there on 9. But apart from that, game time for these two, there is hardly anything to look forward to in the Leicestershire warm-up. So, can we look at some questions, Anurag, if we can? Why are Indian players playing for Leicestershire?
Well, Harshit
Patalia.
explained that because they are the Indian team's entire thing with playing this one game is that they want to give everyone a bit of a run out, and that's it. I don't think honestly that we should not be looking at the kind of numbers and the kind of situation that is there. Honestly, don't look at it. Judge them by the test match, not by the warm-up. Is what I will say.
And 1 second, just go up. Yeah, Virat is looking good. Hope he continues in main match. Yeah, we all hope that he continues the main match. 133 for 5. Yes, it is. The rain has stopped and play has resumed. Right. Virat still doesn't look good. Earlier he used to change strike easy, but now why? GGK, well.
I mean, look, this is the first match he's playing in a while.
Yeah, 1 month. After a month.
He's on vacation, he's coming back. Of course, he's going to be, a little edgy. That's just how it goes.
Then go down. Oh,
I think say anything.
Anyway. Yes. Then no warm-up game.
Anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so the technique is getting exposed of Indian batsmen. See Shreyas Iyer, Hanuma Vihari, Jadeja are looking so rusty. Even Virat isn't. At least there is some testing going on.
True. That's the thing. That's what we were saying is that I don't think it's that technique getting exposed. This is rustiness, nothing else. It's rustiness and cobwebs.
Yeah, but again, a better opponent could have exposed those technical flaws and rustiness even better.
And just hold on one thing, Gaurav Kalra, when did we say that Virat Kohli will not be playing that?
There were doubts that because of the COVID thing. Okay, so let us just understand the timeline of it. Okay, yesterday when we were discussing it, the miscommunication and the leak that happened. Okay, Virat Kohli had tested positive for coronavirus in Maldives while holidaying. He had apparently recovered. And when he came, if he had not recovered, he would have not boarded the plane to England. So there were doubts. There were initial doubts because the report at the start of the day stated that Kohli had suffered from coronavirus, and the BCCI treasurer had made it a point stating that don't rush players into a warm-up game or a test match so soon after coronavirus. That was why the initial doubts were lingering. But after that, simple. There where Virat Kohli was giving a passionate speech, although he was not wearing a face mask at Leicester, there is no bio bubble, and that doubt subsided that he will play. So there is.
And as Akshat Negi points out, saying these bowlers are also troubling the Indian batsmen, specifically Rohit. And yeah, that's the point. That is why a warm-up game. I'm sorry. Were you expecting them that that because they're coming out and this is some two-bit county side that you'd be just smacking them out of the park? Of course not. The whole point of this is to warm up.
Yep.
That's the point. You're going to see them being, being troubled to begin with. A lot of these guys haven't played cricket in a while.
Yep.
So that's the thing.
Yeah, I wanted Shreyas to play as extra batsman. Well, not now. GGK. Well, yes, Shreyas Iyer, 11 ball duck.
11 ball duck. Can I be honest? If Iyer was going to play or not play, it would have been decided before the match and not basis on this performance. Being very honest with you.
Yep. So basically, look. Our playing 11 is more or less settled for the Edgbaston test.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. No one is going to raise any doubts. So who should come in place? Iyer anyway was going to struggle to make it.
Yeah, not in an overseas match. He was not going to be first choice. Not with Hanuma Vihari.
Yeah. So basically, but anyway, Hanuma Vihari also got out for 3 today. So
no problem.
That also, despite being in county, despite having played previous county, this time Cheteshwar Pujara played, but he may probably bat in the second innings. Why India is not producing high quality young test batters too early? Debashish.
I think that's what do you call jumping the gun in terms of judgment. Yeah. I think you have to also remember that India's test squad for the last few years has been very settled. So there's really not been much of a chance for anyone to break. And look at the few players who did. Mayank Agarwal had to wait an eternity to get his chance. Yep. Gill got a chance arguably because there were so many injury problems.
And Gill would have not played if KL Rahul was not injured.
Someone like a Rohit had to wait years to even make a comeback in test cricket. The likes of Shreyas only started getting a look in because you decided that you want to actually rest or drop Rahane. That's it. That was the only reason. So you're not going to judge anyone's test credentials until they play a few test matches.
Yep.
One match,
Do you think Prasidh Krishna is fit for test? His hard lens or... Well, Prasidh Krishna, let me just be honest, he did struggle a bit in the IPL.
Yeah.
But apart from that, prior to the ODIs that he played against the West Indies, he was superb.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's been a pretty key cog of a Bangalore, of a Karnataka side that actually did pretty well domestically. He's done okay.
Yep.
I don't think his numbers are terrible, but
His
I think
numbers are
maybe,
terrible.
I don't know, let's see, maybe a little early because there's again a lot of bowling talent.
Yeah.
The likes of Shardul and Siraj
Yep.
also had to wait and break in only after everyone was injured.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, there's a lot of this thing there, but he might be a good person to,
Yep.
Good shout.
GGK is saying, hold on, I saw some comment by GGK. Up.
No problem. There.
Ashwin should play. Wait.
Ashwin plays should at least be debated. I still think he should play instead of Jadeja. Jadeja batting in test seems overrated. I don't know. I think it depends. If you want to pack your, batting a little thinking, okay, tough conditions, then it's not the worst shout in the world. But yeah, if you're going to be aggressive and say, I want a pure spinning option more than anything else,
Yep.
then I think Ashwin's the better choice. Don't forget, Ashwin in tests.
Yeah.
Not a bad bat at all.
Well, he is one of the best test bowlers that was there, and also with the bat, he's done well. I mean, in the Chennai test against England, Ashwin did score a century.
Ashwin, more than in that, I think look at the way he batted alongside Siraj to save that test match in Australia.
So, Vihari.
Yes, Vihari.
Yeah.
Though that was more of a indication of the fact that he can stick it out. So yeah,
Yep.
I think that's important.
So again, Prasidh looks super impressive. Yeah, he was. Virat Kohli was out well. If it was a bump ball, can't help it. Can KS work play at 5? No. Technically,
Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it.
See, Pant will be your keeper in the Edgbaston test. So that slot is
No,
done.
but I think when he says 5, I don't think Pant bats 5. No?
Again,
Maybe
but
the
then
same play KS Bharat is a pure batsman.
Shubman, Rohit, that will be your openers.
Pujara,
Pujara, Kohli.
4.
So play Bharat instead of Vihari.
Yeah, I think you'd go with Vihari.
You will have to go with Vihari because
He's played county cricket recently.
and he's also been solid. And what wrong did Vihari do to not get selected in the have a long run?
Poor guy always seems to be that fall guy in recent
Yep.
times. He would just get dropped or pushed up and down the order just because.
Yeah. Okay, Sankalp Sahu saying in 2020 now Rishabh Pant was low in Conway. He was dropped in limited overs and not first choice keeper. In warm-up, he got 100 and some confidence in the rest is history. Oh, yes.
That's an interesting point, and I always do believe that sometimes it is good to rest players. But again, I don't think that if you're talking about Pant as this thing, and if you're talking about him, I think you're trying to angle towards his white ball form. Yeah, I don't think you'd be wanting to drop him from the test,
Yep.
because he's been very good in test match cricket. So
Yeah, so I would agree in that point that, okay, as I said, there was an exception in Australia. The Indian team has an exception in Australia, but even then, in 2018 and 19, even in 2020, the quality of opponents that you faced in the
questionable,
were questionable. And again, see, Pant hitting, everybody else hit a century, but others kind of struggled. And remember, the Australian team towards the end were plagued with fatigue because they didn't change the entire 11. Hazelwood, Stark, Cummins all got fatigued. Lyon also lacked that efficiency. And Pant anyway does well in Australia, irrespective of whether he plays a warm-up game or does not.
And
play a warm-up
he's generally performed very well in Sena countries.
Sena countries, yeah.
He'd be the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah, but Sankalp Sahu, that's a good point. That is a really, really good stat.
And we have a super chat from Saurav Mukherjee, which I'll take because it has some, football relevance.
Yep.
So what's your take on Igor Stimac saying that football shouldn't be dependent on IPL broadcasting? I mean, practice matches are getting this much attention, but regular international football matches don't count. See, there's two answers to your question. I agree with Stimac in the sense that, I don't think you should be looking at the IPL broadcasting and then deciding that, when do we play the ISL, when do we play international matches. But football is also a sport that I think I think there's a lot of people in the Indian subcontinent who don't quite get that, is far more league dependent than it is international dependent. So more often than not, if you're an international football team, you'll either be playing friendlies, qualifiers for big tournaments or big tournaments. India don't really play the FIFA World Cup because we don't really qualify for it. The key thing would be that at least now we've of course made it to the Asian Cup back-to-back occasions. That will be the international matches that count. If you want football to, get to that relevance, you guys would have to start supporting, and I'm sure Saurav Mukherjee, you'd be supporting, I can guess which clubs you'd be supporting, but I think more than anything else, a club culture needs to come in. So until that happens, and that's something that is starting to form because there are some clubs that are very well supported, but that has to happen over time, and that's the only way. But, good question, I would say.
Gaurav Kalra saying we need Shardul Thakur as a all-rounder.
I think Hardik will. Shardul Thakur plays more as a
Hardik
bowler.
in tests, I think, is with his dodgy bag, I think will not be an option. Shardul, kind of a good option.
He plays an all-rounder. He plays as a bowler who can bat.
But it was Shardul's all-round brilliance that changed that oval test.
Yeah, but he was a bowler who could bat.
He could bat.
Yeah.
So, okay, just go up here. I saw one comment. Yeah, no, up. So you are telling they were tired and they won. Don't tell me. Wait, I just.
Read it now.
Yeah. So you're telling they were tired, so we won. Come on, our players are also playing, so don't tell that win. See,
I don't recall.
Surya Kant, we are not saying that it was about the Pant thing.
Oh.
Australia. See, again, India played inspirational cricket.
Yeah, because if your second string team are beating a full strength
Australian
that's
team,
inspirational.
that's
indeed.
inspirational.
Yeah.
So nothing of that. It was just a fact that was pointed out. Even Australia, they admitted fatigue got to us. It's not. We are not saying that it is that they got fatigue. No,
Yeah,
it was
they
out
played
there
very
in
well.
record.
No
India
two ways
played
about it.
inspirational
I don't
cricket.
think any of us said that fatigue was the key factor. No,
No.
unfair.
Yep. It is just pointing out. Simple. And 1 minute. Why is India doing everything wrong the way T20 World? We played too much game and we needed less now, too less when we needed more. Okay.
Why isn't it we played too many games when we needed less, now too less when we needed more? Needed more for the test match? Yeah, I don't think so. I think that
No time.
Yeah, you're not, because remember, this is a World Cup here.
Yeah.
The focus is primarily going to be on the T20s, which is why
Yes.
you're seeing so many T20I scheduled.
Yep.
So this one test match wouldn't even be happening
Yeah.
after that COVID scare. which
Exactly.
developed
And
in-
remember, they will play 2 tests against Bangladesh in November.
Yeah.
That is the thing. And 4 tests against Australia in February of 2023.
Yes, and then that'll be Australia coming to India.
Australia coming to India. So that is the thing. In that period, from November to February, that time you'll have test matches as the priority.
Yeah, and that's because the T20 World Cup will be over. Not
Yeah.
really much of a coincidence.
Do you think will win or be draw? I think England ahead as coming.
Yeah, obviously, home conditions, they're
Yep.
coming off a very good win against New Zealand. So I think they will be favourites in that regard. But I think India should not be disappointed with a draw. Of course, I know publicly they will say that we're going for the win, this, that. But I think
See, a win is much more important because South Africa are the only team that is going to upset the entire apple cart.
Yeah, if you're going for a series win, then a draw is good. But remember, we're in the World Test Championship era. So I think they would be targeting a win.
Yeah, 4K Ultra HD Universe is asking what's wrong with Shreyas batting against pace. He was having hard time against South Africa here in India
Yeah,
too.
I mean, remember, we've long talked about that Shreyas's biggest problem is that the bouncing ball. And obviously, let's be fair, it's not that easy playing against seaming conditions in England on day one. So we know he's had that problem, which is why I said that he might not be a first choice. You might be saying of Bihari. That's the only reason.
Yep. So do you think we took that and go down even further? Even further. Okay. I really hope Pujara scores big. Yeah, I guess this is a last chance alone for Cheteshwar
Yeah,
Pujara.
because he came in here on the back of some very good displays in county cricket. But if he doesn't back that up here in the big matches, then...
But again, I will just say Cheteshwar Pujara, Division 2 county. Let's not get too excited by that because
No, I'm not
Division...
really excited. Just telling you quite frankly that if he doesn't, then he's in last chance alone, if you ask me.
I mean, infinity wings, just go back to our thing. I argue that our warm-up matches are not relevant. Okay?
Let it be.
Yeah. What should be India's middle order for this last? The sleeping music is asking. Well, I will just say middle order: Pujara, Kohli, Vihari, Pant.
Yeah.
From
That
number
would
3
be-
to
that
6.
would be,
That will be
this
my. What's wrong with Jadeja? Good question. I just hope he recovers from the rust.
Yeah,
Because
I think he's
remember,
rusty. He didn't play IPL for second half. He's not played any cricket since. So obviously he's going to look rusty.
there is one from a super hit fan: Kohli scoring 100 and India lose, or Kohli scoring duck and India win. See,
India win.
this is the kind of thing. No, I will just say, let Kohli score, let India win.
Yeah.
Simple. No two ways about it. If he scores, India win. Simple. Is there in chance India was a Pakistan WTC final? India beat Australia 4-0. Okay.
Oh,
So
man.
this is
permutations combination.
Pakistan are not in a good position, honestly, because now their remaining series are a bit okay. They play 2 against Sri Lanka, 3 against England and New Zealand at home. Their overseas trips are done after the Sri Lanka thing, because their overseas trips are West Indies, then it was Bangladesh, and it was Sri Lanka. Now, if Pakistan can win against all, but 3-0 against England, slightly difficult, but it can be done.
Yeah.
3-0 against New Zealand can be done. Now, India, they have to win 4-0 against Australia. With this Australian team, very difficult because they did win in Pakistan. So, India, Pakistan, the stars have to
unlikely.
really align.
Highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely.
And
Neelak Sachdev, at which position Pujara will play in this match? Okay, in the warm-up game, we don't know because they are giving all the other batters a chance. Maybe in the second innings when India bat, possibly hopefully at 3. In the test match, he'll be 3. Yeah.
And last question which we'll be taking is Rishabh Chaturvedi asking, when will the India squad with a limited overs like be announced? Pretty soon, because I think they will do it either before the test match starts or in between that time, because they want that clarity. And we also have raised questions as to what squad will be playing. Will it be the kids? Will it be the first choice players? So I think they'll be announcing that soon. Of course, you guys note for a fact that for that as well as other news updates, you can keep following us. We'll bring it to you as and when it happens. And with that note, we say thank you for joining us on this particular edition.
Press the bell icon for all the notifications. We are there on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, folks.
Yeah, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, drop us a few comments if we missed your questions. We'll read it and get back to you in future shows.
Yep.
And as always, I'm Shane Dias. This is Sidvi or Siddharth Vishwanathan for long. And we will see you guys all very, very soon. For now, bye-bye.
Bye.
Vanakkam.
Vanakkam.